One night in a snow-covered chalet high in the Alps, my own sister, my own family locked me inside and left me to die. Why? Because I had discovered the truth. $7 billion hidden in offshore accounts, and a betrayal so deep it turned my blood cold. They thought the flames would erase me. They thought I would vanish without a trace. But when I came back, I carried something they never expected, proof, and I destroyed everything they built. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your comments. My name is Sofia Marquez. I'm 38 years old, and I live in Geneva, Switzerland. For 15 years, I built a life as a forensic financial investigator, uncovering corruption for the world's richest corporations. The streets of Geneva had just begun to glow with winter lights, the air crisp with the scent of roasted chestnuts and mulled wine. Tourists laughed, wrapped in scarves, dragging shopping bags past luxury watch boutiques. Inside one of those glittering streets, Sofia Marquez walked with her usual calm stride, a woman unnoticed by the crowd yet sharper than anyone realized. Sofia had always been underestimated. Her dark hair often tied back in a strict bun, glasses perched on her nose, plain wool coats rather than designer ones. She looked more like a librarian than a woman who could dismantle billion-dollar fraud empires. At 38, she was at the peak of her career, her investigative work so precise that banks hired her to quietly fix their messes before scandals went public. But this time, it wasn't a stranger's corruption she found. It was her own family's. It started when Sofia's late husband's company, Marquez Holdings, asked her to audit a string of suspicious transfers. Her husband Daniel had died in a tragic skiing accident 3 years prior. His business empire had since been controlled by his younger brother, Adrian Marquez, a charming playboy CEO worshipped by the press. Adrian was the golden son. Sofia, the grieving widow, tolerated but dismissed, but numbers don't lie. And when Sofia traced the company's financial trail, she uncovered a massive secret. Adrian and her own sister Elena had siphoned nearly $7 billion into shell companies across the Caribbean and Dubai. Her chest tightened as she stared at the screen. Elena, the sister she grew up with, the only family she thought she had left, was at the center of it. Sofia printed the documents, her fingers trembling. That was the night she became dangerous. Adrian invited her to his alpine chalet that weekend. "Family should stick together, Sophie," he said on the phone, his voice smooth, practiced. "You've been lonely since Daniel. Let us celebrate the holidays together." Something in his tone was off. Too eager. Too rehearsed. Still, she agreed. Part of her needed to see Elena, to confront her, to ask why. The chalet was a palace of glass and wood, perched on a cliffside above frozen lakes. Fires roared in marble hearths, chandeliers sparkled, and servants carried silver trays of champagne. Sofia arrived in her gray wool coat, standing out among the glittering gowns and tuxedos. Elena approached, dressed in emerald silk, her lips painted blood red. "Sofia," she purred, embracing her with false warmth. "It's been too long." For a moment, Sofia almost believed the hug. Almost, until she caught the coldness in her sister's eyes. Dinner was extravagant: truffle risotto, venison, Bordeaux wine. Sofia barely ate. She watched, listened, waited. Adrian toasted to family and to new beginnings. Elena laughed too loudly, and then, just as the snowstorm outside thickened, Adrian leaned close. "You've always been clever, Sofia. Smarter than you look. Smarter than is safe." Her fork froze midair. "What do you mean?" He smiled, sipping his wine. "It's a shame, really, that you had to find the numbers." Her blood ran cold. They knew. Moments later, 2 of Adrian's men, thick-necked, expressionless, rose from the table. Sofia stood, backing away, but Elena's hand touched hers. "Don't fight, Sofia. It'll be easier this way." The words sliced deeper than knives. Her own sister. They dragged Sofia through the hall, her heels scraping against the polished wood. She struggled, but their grip was iron. Adrian followed calmly, humming, as if escorting a guest to her room. Instead, they shoved her into the old hunting cabin behind the chalet. The door slammed. The lock clicked. Through the window, Sofia saw Adrian smirk. "Numbers can't hurt you if you're not alive to read them," he said. Then came the smell. Gasoline. Her heart thundered. She pounded the door, screaming Elena's name. But Elena didn't look back. A single match dropped. Flames licked the walls. The snowstorm outside swallowed their laughter as they walked away. For a moment, Sofia froze. Fire roared around her, orange tongues climbing the wooden walls, smoke thickening in her throat. Her lungs burned. But then, her eyes landed on the tool rack. An old crowbar leaned against the wall. She grabbed it, slamming it against the window frame. Wood splintered. Her hands bled. Smoke clawed at her eyes, but she didn't stop. With one final strike, the glass shattered. Icy wind poured in. Sofia dragged herself through the shards. Falling into the snow, her coat caught flame, but she rolled, burying herself in the freezing powder until the fire hissed out. She lay there in the storm, coughing, shivering, but alive. And something inside her shifted. They thought they had burned her. But instead, they had forged her. Hours later, Sofia stumbled into the valley town, clothes torn, hair singed, hands raw. Locals gasped when they saw her, rushing to cover her in blankets. But Sofia didn't cry. She didn't call the police. Instead, she asked for a phone, because she still had the USB drive, tucked in the lining of her coat, fireproof, waterproof, and holding every detail of Adrian and Elena's theft. They thought they destroyed the only witness. But she carried the truth in her pocket. For weeks, Sofia hid. She rented a room above a bookstore in Geneva, moving only at night. Her body healed slowly, burns bandaged, ribs bruised. She stared at the ceiling, replaying Elena's face over and over. How could she? Her only sister. The child she once shared secrets with under the blankets, whispering about their dreams. Sofia felt rage, grief, but most of all, clarity. Adrian had power. Elena had charm. Together, they controlled lawyers, banks, even politicians. If Sofia went to the police now, she'd vanish before dawn. No, she couldn't just expose them. She had to outsmart them, destroy them from the inside. That night, Sofia opened her laptop. The glow lit her determined eyes. She began writing, mapping, planning. Revenge wasn't just about survival. It was about making them pay. Sofia was no longer just a widow, no longer just a victim. She was a hunter, sharpening her knives in the dark, and Adrian and Elena. They had no idea that the woman they tried to burn alive was about to become their worst nightmare. The fire had tried to erase her, but instead, it awakened her. In the weeks that followed, Sofia became a ghost. Geneva was her city, but she no longer moved in daylight. She wandered its hidden arteries, archives, backroom cafes, basements of law libraries. Every night she stitched her plan tighter, step by step. Her body healed, but the scars on her arms and hands reminded her what Adrian and Elena had done. Every burn mark became fuel. Every ache became purpose. The USB drive in her coat was only the beginning. Inside it, Sofia had collected the trail of $7 billion moved through dummy companies. But she needed more. She needed the story, a narrative so undeniable that no lawyer, no politician, no bank could bury it. So, she went back into the shadows of the financial world. She bribed a low-level banker in Zurich for access. Codes. She blackmailed a tech consultant in Dubai who had helped build Adrian's shell structures. She charmed a Caribbean lawyer into sending her confidential emails, each one signed with Elena's flourish. Piece by piece, she gathered her arsenal. Not just numbers, but voices, faces, signatures, proof. To execute revenge, Sofia needed to disappear and reappear as someone stronger. Gone was the grieving widow in wool coats. In her place emerged a polished, composed woman who could stand among the wealthy without raising suspicion. She bought tailored suits with money she had hidden years before. She dyed her hair to a sleek chestnut, cut in a sharp bob. She began wearing Elena's shade of lipstick, not as imitation, but as mockery. When Sofia finally looked in the mirror, she saw someone Adrian and Elena would never recognize at first glance. Adrian and Elena were preparing for their greatest triumph, a merger deal that would double their fortune and wash the stolen billions clean. The gala would be held in Zurich. Politicians, CEOs, and investors from across Europe would attend. That night, Sofia walked into the hotel ballroom in a backless black gown, heels clicking against marble. Crystal chandeliers glowed overhead, and waiters carried champagne on silver trays. Her heart thumped, but not from fear. From focus, she spotted them instantly. Adrian in a tuxedo, laughing with bankers. Elena, shimmering in gold, a queen in her court. Neither noticed the woman watching from the edge of the crowd. Sofia approached a group of investors and began speaking in perfect French, introducing herself as a financial consultant from Luxembourg. She dropped carefully planted comments about hidden accounts and offshore scandals, baiting them into asking questions. By the end of the night, whispers had begun. The seed of doubt was planted. Whispers weren't enough. She needed spectacle. So Sofia designed a trap as elegant as it was lethal. She created a digital vault, a secure site loaded with every incriminating file she had collected. Wire transfers, emails, fake invoices, even voice recordings of Adrian discussing moving numbers before regulators sniff around. At the center of the vault was one video. A recording from the chalet security cameras, the very night they tried to burn her alive. The footage showed Adrian's men pouring gasoline. It showed Elena walking away. It showed Adrian's match, the fire. The laughter, the betrayal. Sofia watched it once, alone in her rented room, her hands shaking. Then she encrypted it, ready for release. The day of the merger arrived. The world's press gathered in Zurich, cameras flashing as Adrian prepared to announce his deal worth billions. Elena stood at his side, dazzling, untouchable. Sofia was already inside the conference hall, hidden among journalists with her forged credentials. Her pulse drummed as she checked her watch. The moment Adrian lifted his glass to toast, Sofia pressed send on her phone. Within seconds, screens across the hall lit up. Not slides of graphs and profits, but the video. Adrian's face froze mid-toast as his own image appeared on the giant screen. The audience gasped. The room filled with flames, recorded flames, gasoline pouring, Sofia's muffled screams, and then Adrian's smirk. His words, "Numbers can't hurt you if you're not alive to read them." The silence shattered into chaos. Reporters screamed questions. Investors stormed out. Phones rang furiously. Adrian lunged for the control booth, but it was too late. The video had spread online. Sofia had timed it perfectly. Within minutes, international news networks broadcast the footage. Elena turned pale, her mask cracking as cameras flashed in her face. "Fake! This is fake!" she shrieked. But the vault link appeared on Twitter, shared thousands of times, with all the financial documents available for download. Regulators froze Marquez Holdings' assets within the hour. Interpol agents entered the building before the night ended. Adrian tried to flee in his car. He didn't make it 2 blocks, but Sofia wasn't finished. When Adrian was dragged out in handcuffs, he locked eyes with her across the street. For the first time, he recognized her. His face drained of color. "You," he hissed. Sofia didn't speak. She only lifted her burned hand, the scarred skin catching the streetlight, and pointed it at him like a verdict. Elena's fall was slower, more humiliating. Sofia released carefully timed leaks of her emails, her falsified signatures, her involvement in laundering. Elena went from glamorous socialite to international disgrace overnight. Her jewels were seized, her penthouse raided. Sofia watched every headline with quiet satisfaction. Weeks later, Sofia stood again in Geneva, on the Pont du Mont Blanc, watching the waters of Lake Geneva ripple under the moonlight. She was no longer hiding. No longer grieving, her enemies were destroyed by the very fire they lit, and the world now knew the truth. A journalist approached her that night, recognizing her as the mystery whistleblower. "Why did you do it?" he asked. Sofia's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Because family tried to bury me alive. And when you bury a woman like me, she doesn't die. She grows roots. She rises stronger." She walked away, her heels striking the bridge, her silhouette sharp against the night. Sofia Marquez, the woman they tried to erase, had become the author of their downfall, and her story was far from over. Adrian and Elena spent years fighting charges. Both ended in prison. Their empire crumbled, their names spat in shame. But Sofia, she built something new, a foundation that helped victims of financial crime. She lived quietly, powerfully, her scars hidden beneath silk sleeves but never forgotten. Because scars, she realized, were not weakness. They were proof that she survived, proof that she won. If you liked my story, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with as many people as possible. Thanks for watching.